Hello. Today I'm going to go over this worksheet, Temperature of the Sun's Atmosphere, Graphing. And you'll see that there's a little information here about the different layers of the sun that we've talked about: photosphere, chromosphere, a transition, and corona. But one of the things we talked about is there's this really unusual change in temperature where the photosphere is pretty cool, and that's the surface of the sun. But then as you go higher up into the atmosphere, it actually gets hotter. And then it gets drastically hotter in the corona. And that's different from what our experience is, because the further away something is from the source of heat, the cooler it should be. And that's not what happens here with the sun. But what we want to do is just graph this information. So I have two data tables down here: graph 1 data table, graph 2 data table. And we'll be graphing height in kilometers and temperature in kelvins. Very similar to Celsius or Fahrenheit. Not much of a difference at these big numbers. And we're going to graph them onto these two graphs. So I'm going to get you started on that. And we'll take a look at how to set this up. So the first one that we want to look at, graph 1, we're going to put height on the bottom. That's going to be our x-axis. And it's in kilometers. And that goes from 0 to 2,000. So we're going to start at 0. And then we have 250, 500. It increases by 250 with each line. And if you go all the way to the end, that'll mean this is 2,000, this second to last line here. So finish that one up. Along here, we're gonna do temperature, and that's in kelvins, capital K there. For this one, we're gonna start at 0, and every line for temperature is going to be 1,000 degrees. So we go 0, and then 1,000 degrees. And 2,000 degrees, 3,000. And that'll take you all the way up to the top line, the last line at 10,000 degrees. Okay, so finish doing that. And then we just graph, right? So graph 1, height of 0, temperature 10,000. So height of 0, temperature 10,000 is right up in this corner. And then the next one is a height of 250, right? The temperature is 7,000. So you'll work this out, and 7,000 will be right about here. And you just keep graphing all the way across this data table. That's for graph 1. And that's going to show you the changes in temperature in the lower portions of the sun's atmosphere. Okay. The second graph is going to be the higher portions of the sun's atmosphere. So then we're talking about the transition region and the corona. We couldn't keep it all in the same graph because the numbers and temperature are so wildly different. So on graph 2, we're going to still stick with height down at the bottom. And again, that's in kilometers. But my numbers are a little different. I'm going to use the numbers that are on this data table. I'm going to start at 2,200, and I'm going to go up to 3,600. So if I do that, 2,200, and I'm increasing by 200 kilometers each time. So 2,200, 2,400, 2,600. And you will end at 3,600 on that second to last line right here, okay? The y-axis is gonna be temp, again, in Kelvin. And this one is gonna be very different from the last one, because each line is gonna represent 100,000 degrees Kelvin. So 100,000, then 200,000 degrees Kelvin, 300,000 degrees Kelvin, and we'll go all the way up to the very top line at 1,000,000 200,000 degrees Kelvin. Okay, so fill that in, increasing by 100,000 each time. And when you start to graph that, our height 2200 is that first line, temperature 20,000. Well, 20,000 is actually pretty low, right? The next height, 2400, is also 20,000. That's still down here. Let's do one more, 2600. It jumps up to 300,000 degrees. So all of a sudden it bumps up to right here. And you're going to graph the rest of it, see how it changes, connecting the dots as you go. And it'll give you an idea of how the temperature of the sun's atmosphere changes as you move away from the sun. All right, thank you.